Hey everyone, and welcome back. This is the Happy Cat here, and today I wanted to talk about horseback riding and video games because that's what I've been thinking about lately. But first, I want to show you guys my shirt because it's from Metal Gear Solid 3, that final fight in the white flowers. You can see there's the boss, there's Snake. I don't know, I thought this was an amazing design, so I'm going to link to the artist's Twitter because that's where I found the design from. Anyway, I just really felt like I needed to show that. I know I said in my last video I don't buy too much merch, but this was absolutely the exception. I just thought it was so cool. In any case, so lately I've been working on my game, as some of you know. I've been working on a game. Every day, a few hours get spent on that. I know I said I was taking a break from videos, but opportunities have come up, and so I'm working on videos, and like it's Saturday morning right now, and I feel like I have this big to-do list. Like if I go and sit down and try to just play a game, just enjoy myself, I feel this like little ticking clock of like, you have so much to do right now with your side projects, which is great. I feel like since I've graduated from school, it's been well over a year now, I'm kind of like, okay, I'm an adult. Let's forge my adult identity now that I'm not driven by like fear and this urgency of like, okay, just pull another all-nighter because it's just another year of school. You know what I mean? There's now no like benchmark or deadline that I have to just sort of race towards. I have to just figure out, okay, how do I want to actually spend the rest of my life? What do I want my legacy to be? How do I want to spend my time? What makes me really happy? And I don't know the answers to any of those questions, but I feel like the best way is to actually do things. I realized a lot of times I'd use video games as a way to just sort of kill and eat up time, but I realized how much I can do in just even 20 minutes, like 20 minutes of drawing or 20 minutes of trying to do piano, whereas 20 minutes I could kill so easily in a game that I wouldn't really have any memory of, if that makes sense. I guess that's my benchmark, is I want to do things that give me some kind of lasting memory, because that's really all you are and kind of your identity is like the memories that have actually stuck with you and built up over time, if that makes sense. So I love games. Like I just finished Oxenfree, which I thought was a really wonderful experience. I love the dialogue, I love the writing, and I have really strong memories that I think will last for several years, even though it was just a few hours in one sitting, if that makes sense. I think the games I'm talking about are like, you know, like playing DotA or Overwatch over and over and over and over because you're kind of addicted. That's a side note. I feel like those games, oh dear, there's a siren. let's all wait for a sec. In any case, my point is that I want to do productive things with my time that, even if it's just a little by little, that move me forward in some way. So I have my game project, I have my videos, I have these different side and creative projects, but I want things that are completely independent of technology, are independent of any kind of professional goal, and that are just fun. Like if I lost my entire ability to code and just that part of my brain shut down, that I would still have things that make me really, really happy. So I found some things that are like kind of outdoorsy and stuff that I really enjoy. I'm going back to things that I really liked in my childhood a lot, and I feel like now that I'm able to have more time, I'm able to like pursue my childhood interests, which I actually think is a really good way to go, maybe, don't you think? Like the things that excited you in childhood, that's like some real raw energy that you could never reproduce in your life. I don't know, if there's something that you've always wanted to do since you were a kid that you kind of forgot about, I would just go try it again, because it's even better as an adult when you can actually like get into it. So I've been going horseback riding, which is something that I did when I was younger, like 9 or 10 until I was 14 or 15. I grew up in the Chicago area, so we'd drive up to Wisconsin at a farm, and we kind of knew the guy who was managing the farm, and he showed us how to do tons of different cool things around the farm. We got to like feed the baby horses and baby cows and give horses their inhalers and give them baths. And so it was always just really fun to go up there every weekend with me, like my childhood best friend, and our moms. We'd all go pretty much every weekend for 4 or 5 years. And then it seems to be, by the way, this weird thing where like horseback riding, especially like the English style, seems to be stereotyped to young little girls, at least in the US. I think maybe in Europe it's a bit different, because the only male like riders, like English riders doing jumping or dressage or something like that, were always like the German trainers that were visiting for a few years. Yeah, it's just really interesting. I don't get why horses are so stereotyped to like, think of like in the 90s, Mary-Kate and Ashley 10-year-old girl horse figurines. I don't know. That's what I remember. I was the target demographic for Mary-Kate and Ashley horse things when I was like 9 or 10. It's so interesting though, because horses are like, it's the closest thing to having a How to Train Your Dragon Pokemon animal companion that's this big, I don't know, this big animal that you have this like coworker partner relationship with. It's a really cool thing, and I don't get why it's sort of relegated to that kind of demographic, because there's nothing particularly feminine or masculine about it. Maybe it's the tight pants in English riding, like the tan tight pants. Honestly, maybe that's it. Maybe that's why it's not popular with men as much in America, and it's more of like, oh, Western riding with the big saddles and whatnot. Where was I? In any case, yes. So I rode when I was younger, and it was something I really loved, and now I'm getting back into it because I just forgot how super fun it was, how much I just love being around animals and doing, honestly, like doing the actual farm work. It's very nice to just be disconnected from everything and just focusing on your one task at hand, like moving all this stuff or like grooming this horse down, cleaning them up, or it's really awesome. And I've started learning in the dressage style. I initially just I wasn't doing shows or anything like that. I was just kind of learning the basics of English riding and jumping a bit and stuff. But dressage is so fascinating. I always thought, and maybe this will be better for a future video, like, of course, as soon as I try any new activity, I'm always thinking about like the ethics of it. I ruin so many fun things for myself. Like cruises, can't do cruises anymore. But horses, as soon as I started liking it, I was like, do horses like being ridden? Is it ethical to ride horses? Is it ethical to keep horses? Like, what should be done here? And that's a whole thing. My answer is that it's complicated, but even doubly so. Let's just agree that horseback riding is like, it's sort of a necessary way to keep these animals that really can't survive in the wild. They're not meant to be wild, right? So this is sort of like their job, just like a human has to go to an office, and that's not really cruel. That's just kind of how the world is. Horses, they might be schooling horses. Most of them are not working, like pulling horses. That's actually, fun fact, that's what their biology is designed for. They're not designed to be ridden. I'll talk about the ethics thing more later. They're designed to like pull carts and stuff. But basically when you're riding on top of them, it's kind of like, if you think of it as percentages, a 1,200 pound horse, let's say I'm like 120 or something. Let's see, I would be like 10% of its weight. And then 10% of 120, it would be like having a 12-pound backpack. So it's not super bad. What was probably more annoying for the horse is if you have a rider that's like yanking on its mouth or using too much of their leg, like kind of kicking it or giving it directions that don't make a lot of sense. That's honestly probably the worst part. But so let's say we'll debate the ethics later. Let's say it's just the horse's job and they recognize that and they don't hate it because they're treated well. Okay, well, so then I thought, okay, riding them is fine, but dressage, look it up if you don't know what it is. Doesn't this seem a little bit strange to make horses do these like ballet dancing moves? It's kind of like showing dogs, you know? It's like, who even decided the rules for the best dog? They're all good boys in my heart. Like, why don't we show cats? You know, that would be hilarious. Trying to show cats as they're like all walking off the podium. Like, I don't want to be here. That's like, horses are a little bit more cat-like than dog-like, but not quite as aloof. But they are more cat-like, where you're like, they're they're not like pouring their heart out with affection, and that's why they want to do all these tricks for you. But then I actually started training in that style, and it's so fascinating. I think I have a really good teacher, so maybe I only know one perspective. It's so fascinating how, okay, probably most of you know that to steer a horse, the general idea is you use your reins, like pull right, pull left, and you might use your leg a bit, squeeze on one side to get them to kind of push over, and you generally don't want to like kick them unless they're really being stubborn or backing up or putting you in danger. You just kind of want to squeeze or just do a tap. Same thing with if you see people using whips. I don't like that name because it's not really a whip or a crop. I've whacked myself with it really hard. It's not supposed to hurt. It's meant to be. This is why I kind of relate it to video games. Actually, going back to like Dota, it's almost like having an extra button on your controller to indicate the combo you want your horse to perform. That's why I found this so interesting, and I doubt there's anyone in dressage who thinks this way. But like, so you have your seat, right? Your hip bones, and you use the motion of your hip bones to kind of dictate a rhythm and a tempo as you follow the horse. And you'll use your legs alternating one at a time as the horse's rib cage swings as it walks to get the right timing. So it's basically this ultimate rhythm game of figuring out exactly where all your horse's legs are, exactly how long you want their stride to be. You can kind of tell them to shift gears to not speed up, but just have longer strides. At this point, you don't even need the reins to tell it to stop. You just lean back and stop the motion of your hips. Or to give it like a half halt to like say slow down or shorten your stride, you simply like make the motion of your hips, make the arc smaller than the actual motion of the horse. Like if the horse is going like this, to tell it to kind of move a gear down, you'd kind of just start going like this, and then the horse should fall to match your movement. And I think like that's so amazing to me. They pick up on the most subtle cues. And there should never be almost any real, like, I don't want to say painful, but no like nudging or poking. It's literally just, I'm communicating to you that this is what we should do. And then the horse is like, all right, like I trust you. I find that so fascinating. Anyway, what I was going to say is along with all these cues with your hips, you do have the reins, but you don't always need to use them immediately. You do have your feet where you can kind of give them a tap or a bit of a squeeze, but that's usually, you want to use your hip movement first, then legs, then reins, and then a whip might just be like, almost like pressing A in Mario Kart. It's just meant to say, hey, I'm gonna kind of tap your butt like this, not like that. I'm gonna tap you like this so that you know, like, we want more movement in the engine that is the hind legs. It's like almost just having access to the back of the body to just indicate something to it. So I find all of that super fascinating. It's very technical, and it feels like the ultimate micro, if that makes sense. I know that sounds so weird and lame, but that's what it feels like. It just feels like you have all these different buttons on your controller. You have a whip. I wish there was another. You have your stick. You have reins. You have your legs. You have your hips. You have the direction of your shoulders and your head. You sometimes have vocal commands. You have all these things that when put together, you are responsible for understanding, here's exactly where all of my horse's legs are. I'm going to give this cue when this leg is in this position. All of these things. It's the ultimate video game that should be more popular with raging nerds. You get like the ultimate micro dragon companion. I don't know. I think it's super fun though. I'll talk more about it because I have a lot of thoughts. It's the history of horses and how they've come to be this animal that really doesn't, like, wild horses or domesticated horses that escaped off of ships, if that makes sense. There's just so much fascinating about horse history all the way back to ancient Greek times. Anyways, I have a lot more thoughts. I'm reading some new books that I also want to share with you guys. So I hope you have a happy day wherever you are, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye!